Is it just me, or is the British royal family on a roll? I mean, they're making it really hard for Meghan and Harry to catch up. There are only so many storyboardless, aimless Instagram reels about jam the woman can put out. And now here comes the Princess of Wales herself on her first solo tour, or first tour period, since her cancer diagnosis and recovery. And boy, did she understand the assignment. Thousands came out to see her, some from different cities in Italy, some dressing up and bearing flowers, hoping to catch a glimpse, or if they're lucky, say hi and get a photo. And some in Montecito who try so hard to replicate this turnout and adoration for themselves might be wondering, why? As we say here in Japan, why her? What does she have that I don't? God, I hate that question. I am not here to pin two women against each other. I despise that question. It completely dehumanizes women and makes it out like we're all stencils with no individual personalities and interests of our own to offer the world. What I'm trying to do in this video is highlight what makes a royal and the royal tour which they are on so effortlessly successful. And I say effortlessly with an asterisk. Of course, there's a lot of behind the scenes work, but the public facing aspect of it, once all the work, once all the prep is done, this tour really went down sublimely. Everyone knows that early childhood development is Catherine's thing. She's been working on it for a long time. In June of 2021, she launched the Royal Foundation Center for Early Childhood, and she went to Italy for the specific purpose of learning about the Reggio Emilia approach, which is, according to their website, an educational philosophy based on the image of a child with strong potentialities for development and a subject with rights who learns through the 100 languages belonging to all human beings and grows in relation with others. I had to read through their program. I'm not about to go into it in any detail here. It's kind of not the topic of the video, but I was really fascinated by the fact that this approach has its first traces in the mid-19th century, and it's been progressing ever since, which is incredible. You'd think that focusing on the early years of childhood is a relatively novel concept, but apparently not. Back to the point I was trying to make. Basically, this trip and this initiative that she went to learn about is right up her alley. Catherine has been nothing if not consistent with this interest of hers, which indicates that it's a genuine one. And this is important. The whole purpose of this video really is to illustrate why Catherine can so effortlessly win people over. A lot of people who support Meghan and Harry might argue, well, they have their own charitable endeavors and they've been focusing on, for instance, the whole online bullying aspect. First of all, it's very important to highlight that people like consistency. A lack of consistency, which is demonstrated in Meghan and Harry's case, for instance, by hopping from one cause of the month to the other without any sound understanding of the cause itself, can not only breed skepticism, but it also makes the inconsistent person in question look vapid and disingenuous and lacking in any sincerity and knowledge about the subject matter. It leaves the public and the media scratching their heads thinking, what on earth was this even all about? Royal tours require cohesion. With Catherine, this cohesion was reflected in every stop of her itinerary. She spoke with educators and children, sometimes in Italian, and participated in a few of the activities that the Reggio Emilia approach utilizes as part of its unique program. Another thing that Catherine and other successful royals really excel at is understanding the assignment. And this is reflected not only in the way they behave, but also in their outfit choices, in their presentation style. I'm not about to go into an analysis of Catherine's very simple wardrobe on this trip, because we've already talked about that entire topic in recent videos. I will say though, note how professional and clean and buttoned up and tailored she looks, which is exactly what you would expect of a royal on a working trip. We talked about this before, putting one's best foot forward, literally and figuratively, because they're there as a figurehead, as a representative of an entire country. Note how she didn't even have to change her outfits. She had 2 outfits for 2 days, clean and simple, appropriate, and not distracting from the job that she was there to do. A royal should understand that they're not there to be the center of attention. They're not a rock star. They're not the best thing since sliced bread or peanut butter, if you ask me. I don't know what the whole fuss is about sliced bread. It's not that great. For instance, unlike Meghan, who feels compelled to make a speech literally everywhere she goes, whether she is an authority on the subject matter or not, Catherine didn't make any speeches. Even though she's practically an expert by this point, one would assume, in the relevant subject matter being early childhood development. She probably has interesting things to say, but that's not why she was there. The focus, this is connected to the first point, was to learn. In fact, she didn't even make a speech when, in recognition of her commitment to early years initiatives, she was presented with the Primo Tricolore, the highest honor bestowed by the city of Reggio, Emilia, granted exclusively to individuals or organizations that have delivered significant contributions in civic, cultural, scientific, or democratic spheres. I know I've already mentioned Meghan, but I just keep thinking of that time in Nigeria when she was declared, I don't know, a princess or a royal or something, and she just had to grab the mic from someone and make a speech, even though the band started playing, because she wasn't meant to make a speech. It takes a generous serving of humility to understand that you are not the center of the universe, even when everyone around you can sometimes act like you are. Think about it. You've got all these people turning up in droves just to catch a glimpse of you. And yet you still manage to understand that your title, the fact that you are, for example, in this instance, a princess, is the main attraction, rather than you on a personal level. The Queen understood this, famously, the late Queen. Now, that's not to say that the person behind the title isn't an attraction as well. Princess Diana was no saint, by her own admission. She had her demons, and sometimes they took over. But for all her faults, it's undeniable that she had a way with people. Some of you have witnessed it in real time while she was still alive, and some of us, like myself, who've come later, can clearly see it in the videos and photos that survive. And I'm not saying it, by the way, like it's some mystical superpower. I just mean she had empathy. She could connect, she could listen, she cared. And perhaps most importantly, she was genuine. She was genuine in her display of these qualities. This trip in particular has seen Catherine get a lot of comparisons to her mother-in-law, and it's not because they both share a title. The BBC reported on Catherine's trip and included some responses from Italians who came out to see her. And the words that kept coming up were sincerity, empathy, and kindness. One woman in particular stated that she liked Catherine because the princess had not shown, quote, fake empathy of the kind associated with celebrities, Meghan Markle, but real empathy. It's why a lot of us instantly took to Catherine. And in the same vein, in Meghan's case, it's also why we instinctively recoiled a little and went, there's something off about this one. It must be said that to a certain extent, Catherine and even Princess Diana and all the working royals who have been successful are performing a role. But the fact of the matter is, we can still see through the facade, whether it's professional or whether it's a sinister mask put on to manipulate people.
I had one question. I said, well, is he nice?
It's kind of like painting. I paint for a hobby using watercolor in particular, and watercolor is transparent by nature. And what you learn is that if you just slap on the top color that you see, let's say it's a red parrot, and you just slap red, a flat red, lacking any dimension, onto the blank piece of paper, you're not going to end up with a good result. Because the truth of the matter is, while you might see the red on top, there are base layers of yellow and orange peeking through that are required to add that level of dimensionality, that glow, an inner glow for the painting to really pop. That's kind of how I see people like Catherine and people like Meghan. Meghan just slapped the red on. That's what they see. That's the surface level without any depth. Whereas with Catherine, the layers, they're there and they always shine through. Look, I'm not trying to glorify or deify Catherine. I'm not a fangirl. It really is a simple matter of fact that Catherine is a people person. Diana was a people person. Prince William is a people person. And I know I'm going to get some backlash for saying this, but even Prince Harry, to some extent, is a people person. That's why, especially before Meghan, but even to this very day, when you see him interacting with people, he can still come across as quite disarming, quite warm, quite sweet. Everything that Meghan is simply not. Even royal photographers and members of the Royal Rota who followed them around when they were working royals have commented on how awkward, how painfully out of place Meghan seemed when doing the meet and greets, the walkabouts. She wasn't comfortable. She wasn't in her element. And while that doesn't inherently make her a bad person, she's a bad person for other reasons. Not being a people person is the least of her problems. But it does make her a bad fit for the job, which is really ironic considering the fact that Harry thought she'd be great for it.
Harry, shush.
I'm not trying to diagnose anyone here or anything because I am not a doctor, but usually, based on empirical evidence, my lived experience, as it were, people with disordered or difficult or problematic personalities don't tend to be people. You know what I'm trying to say. And that's because usually they're too stuck in their own heads, too preoccupied with themselves to be genuinely interested in connecting with others. It's not always the case. There is, for instance, considerable speculation that Princess Diana suffered from borderline personality disorder. She was never officially diagnosed, or at least it was never publicly disclosed, but she was still a people person. It's like any other job, really. Some people are just a really good fit for a particular role because they have, if not the personality for it, but at least the aptitude and the willingness to learn. They have the right qualities. That's my little spiel on why this short, sweet, and simple tour was so successful in comparison to whatever Meghan and Harry had in Australia. I mean, clearly Australia wasn't impressed because Invictus Australia has basically, the government cut funding. The government has announced they are no longer funding Invictus Australia. So yeah, clearly not very impressed. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Visit the link to Patreon in the description box if you'd like to support this channel further. You know the spiel. You know the drill. Today is just not my day. It's just not my day. Not even a good hair day, to be honest with you. Humidity reigns supreme. Toodles.